very basic information on how we approach production design for Fulldome in our planetarium. So I'll cover a little bit about the process, the pipeline that we use. I guess I want to talk a little bit about how we can get content into the dome, some of those design parameters that we have to sort of consider. But then also want to look at the end of this is look a little bit about how it compares to film as an environment. So we saw this image last night from our black hole show. I'll talk a little bit about the pipeline. It is very similar to the filmmaking process. But the only thing in there that I would sort of say that you wouldn't necessarily do in a normal production is this is what we make an animated storyboard. That's really crucial for us because our shows are all basically computer graphics. Once we get to the storyboard, we really need to lay that out. Now, most of our shows traditionally have been documentary styles, although we do have done narrative-based educational shows. We're currently doing a show where it's two characters and a robot going into outer space, living out the seasons. So it's a kids' show. It's going to be pitched 8 to 10-year-olds. But that is it's a narrative-driven story. We still end up do an entire storyboard for it, but then we want to lay that out with some narration to work out the whole rhythm of the show, and that becomes really one of our focus to getting a sense of the rhythm of the show, the timing of the piece, and then when we actually hand things out, that makes it okay, the scenes can get through it, do something, that's ultimately actually another 30 seconds. So how do we get stuff onto the dome? And there's obviously different ways we can generate images for it. The first one is the most traditional one, well, is to use a real-time system. So sky scanning, what's called digital sky, there's a bunch of others. Manufacturers who make different things for do the night sky. And within that we can fly around the universe and zoom up on planets. Now technically what we used to do is sort of like cut to a scene of that. Or we could sort of like have animated or like a little animated video come over to the top of that. We never were able to render that up until about this year. Now we can actually do a flight path in a real-time system, and then we can render that out and actually use that in a pre-rendered show. I mean, our aim at the moment is we always want to have it ended up with a pre-rendered show so that we can actually market it up with. So since 2005, when we first put in a full-blown digital system, all our shows have been finished to a pre-rendered state so that we can actually on sell them. So you can use the real-time system, the most common sort of materials that we are using at the moment, or a large part of what we use photographs and stills, because particularly in astronomy, there's a huge wealth of imagery. But we're always trying to look at different ways to sort of like make it interesting, which is what I was showing you about black holes last night. Even with this one, if you actually look at it, it actually forms a cube. So you actually design, you want the brief was you need to cover the dome. We're going to cover the entire screen with images. But you didn't want to make it feel like it was a dome, so we actually created and built it so you had this thing form a cube around it. It visually changed the actual space around you. So you felt like you were sitting inside a cube, not inside a dome. And actually still insinuated that it was a 3D space, not just sort of thing, plastic 2D images or everything. This one is this particular scene where it's we actually do go underwater here. It was from black holes. It's from an old fable about a dragonfly not being able to see above, and dragonfly lives like a couple of sea above the surface of the water. And that's a parable for the event of horizon. This was all actually done in a paint program and then warped and composited all together in After Effects. So basically, what you've done in 3D, but I started doing After Effects and got more and more complex, and it's like so many layers, it's impossible. So you have photographs and stills. You can use video. We did Problem with Pluto is a story of an astronomer. Well, it's a story of a girl. The show is basically about is Pluto a planet or not, and this was before Pluto was declassified to a dwarf planet, or reclassified. And the story involved a girl going out to Pluto with her mother and along the way meeting the ghost of Percival Lowell, who was an astronomer who originally had looked for Pluto before it was actually found. And we knew that we were going to have this astronomer as a character on screen for a lot of the time. We kind of debated, could we do him as an animated character? And we're going, no, he's just going to be on screen for far too long, his presence is far too important. So we decided that we would film him on Pluto on green screen and then composite him in. So I'll show you a clip from this because it sort of shows him how he first appears. There's a famous photo of him looking at through this telescope, and this is how he appears in the first appears in the show.
That sounds more scientific.
Scientific?
As you can see, I'm right here. Percival Lowell, intrepid traveller, renowned astronomer, scientific philanthropist, explorer of the night sky, at your service.
Next, I've got computer animation. Now, it's still currently probably the easiest and most efficient method, particularly for our planetarium, in producing full-dome sequences. We use all these three packages for producing content. I'll just show you this clip is actually from our living climate. This is sort of like flying across Antarctica. This is all produced in View, which is again it's a world generating software. So it's really hard to read how this looks on the dome. Particularly at the end of this clip, these things are literally towering over here. Okay, finally, full-dome video, and this is what we're trying to explore this week. And only really becoming available with, trying to get something that's full res that actually completely covers the dome at 4K. Really, very little limited availability of what can actually do that. Some people have been doing some experiments with red. We haven't been using it. They will become more dominant. When the 4K cameras come out and become far more available, it will become a much more dominant method of production, and certainly I would say it's going to boom, really. So they're the main methods of getting that we use for getting content onto the dome. Cross reflection. So I'll move on to some of these design issues. Ben talked a little bit about this cross reflection. So basically what happens is you're projecting into the dome, the light hits here, but then it gets spread everywhere else around the dome. So we have these images, and they look, they're fantastic on your computer screen. Then you go to project them, and suddenly they look really washed out and flat, and all the colours gone. And it's really hard, and sort of like you've got to try and work your way around. What do we want to do? I mean, obviously, using a lot of black really helps. So if you use a lot of black and just have colour in a certain section, that will make that colour really pop out. This show was high key for the whole show. This was a kids' show, and while it does get somewhat washed out, we decided that it would be acceptable because it was an overall colour. What gets really, really bad is you get a whole bunch of white here and the colour detail here. That end up looking terrible. So you've got to watch that. So sometimes if you do a whole high key scene, you make it all reasonably bright, but I mean, most of what we really find with this particular scene is, and we crushed the sky a lot to get it really dark blue, was it did give it an overall blue cast of the scene.